Okay. No talking now, guys. Okay. While I'm talking, no talking. Thank you. You can talk later, lunch. Okay, advanced. You click on advanced. That's where I want you to go. Okay. And I know it's hard to see, but you have this on you. What do you think the average house costs in Winnipeg right now? If you had to do a rough guess, what would it be? 200,000? 300,000? 300,000 plus for an average house. That's taking the $1 million houses, and that's taking the ones that are like derelict, right? Like the houses that are falling apart, that are being set on fire, that are worth probably 20, 30 grand. Nobody wants to buy them. So taking all that, taking the average, probably 350 grand. So let's put in 350,000 in there. So let's say the mortgage you're gonna need is 350, and I apologize. I can probably, hey, look at that. That's a little better. 350,000 over 25 years. That is a very common amortization period. I'm going to talk about that later. Amortization is how long do you want to pay it off. So 25 years. Let's say you want to go monthly. Look at the interest rate right now. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the interest rates have gone up like crazy. I signed for 1.9% for 5 years just before it went up. So you know what happened, right? The government, I should probably not record this. I might get in trouble. That was going to happen, right? They're not just going to give out money and not somehow get it back, right? The problem is that people that worked and weren't on CERB, they're paying somebody else's CERB right now, right? So that's the unfair part. Watch this. So this is the interest rate. I'm going to keep it at that because that's basically a 5-year term. You're like, what about the 5 years and the 25 years? Are you confused about that? Why does it say 25 years and then it says 5 years here? Why is that? I'm going to explain that to you as well. But I have it in the notes, so I'm not going to do it right now. Let's just go and figure out what the payment is going to be. So you got to kind of go to the bottom here where it says calculate and just click on that. And there it is, guys. Your monthly payment would be $2,100 more or less every month. Is that a lot of money? That's a lot of money. Can you afford it? I don't think so, because you're not making the big bucks yet, right? So this is something that we're going to talk about. How can we bring this payment down? Well, you can probably have a higher down payment, things like that. I will show you the newest program. I wish that had been around when I was saving up for my house. The government just opened up in April a program where you can put money into. It's tax-free, so basically you don't pay taxes on it, and you can use it towards the purchase of your home. So that's amazing, and you don't need to pay it back. I needed to pay mine back. I'm still paying that back to this day. My RSP, I used my RSPs to buy my first home. You won't have to do that. So I'm going to show you where to get that, how to apply for it, and so forth. Okay, let's go and view this chart here. You see that? I'm hovering, view chart, click on that. So it shows you over time, right, that you're going to be done after 25 years if everything goes well, right? You're going to be done. Not everybody is done in 25 years because things happen. Things happen. So 5 years into your mortgage, you're like, oof, you know, something went wrong. You lost your job. You couldn't make the payments. You might have to go another 25 years after the first 5. So a total of 30, right? And so you got to watch out what you do and how you approach mortgages. Can you just look into this as well? Watch this. What does it say here? Total interest cost. Are you looking at this number? So by the time you're done in 25 years, if the interest rate stays the same, you will have paid $293,000 just in interest. That's what the bank gets. That's not the mortgage itself. That's just interest. So technically, if your house was 350, add this to it to really know how much you will have paid at the end of the day, right? So add another 300 grand. So by the time you're done your mortgage, you will have paid 650,000. So you might ask, why in the world would somebody then buy a house, right? Well, we all know that the houses are, in general, don't quote me on this, don't get me in trouble, but in general, they go up, right? Because there's a limited supply, but there's a lot of demand. So houses usually go up. So by the time you're done paying off your mortgage, your house could very well be worth more than 650,000, right? So that's something that we will call equity, right? We'll talk about equity and stuff like that. All right, so let's put this away. Put your phones away for now. Get our booklets out. We're gonna do some math right away. Grab a new one here. I'm going to quiz you and AC you a lot on various things that we talk about in this unit. So page 3 first. I'm just going to highlight a few things. So I have a highlighter ready and a pencil as well. So I'm going to add to it. Okay, I'm also going to tell you that I'm biased towards buying a house. I am biased. When I talk, I'm going to kind of say it's better than renting, but I think renting, if you're careful with your money, renting is actually not a bad idea. However, a lot of people rent and whatever money they have left over, they don't invest it, they might spend it on other things. A house is a forced investment. You can't skip your payments. You have to make your payments. And so the money is growing in the house. Okay? So advantages of buying a home. When you own a home, you probably have a fixed monthly payment that doesn't change for a while. When I was renting, almost every year there was an increase on my rent. Almost every year. They say, hey, we want an extra 5% or whatever on my rent. So it went up every year. When you sign that mortgage term, you're fixed for a while. Okay. Next thing here, this is the biggest one. Every mortgage payment brings you closer to owning a home. When you pay rent, that money doesn't go towards home ownership. You're not building equity. Okay. So I don't want to, because you do build equity. You're not building equity when you rent, but let's just do this. You build equity. Okay, so that's an advantage of owning a home. And I will explain what equity is because it's kind of important and somewhat complicated to understand. But you're a bright bunch, maybe you'll get it right away. You can stay as long as you want. Stay as long as you want. You don't have to move. Okay? When you own it, it's yours. So when you rent, especially when you rent a house, sometimes the homeowner says, hey, I want to sell this. I don't want, so you have to now find something else to live in, right? When you buy a home, you may be able to cash in on appreciation. You can cash in on the appreciation over time. A car depreciates, real estate usually appreciates. Okay. Number 5, I'm not going to highlight anything there, but 6, freedom to do home improvements on your house. You can renovate, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to ask the landlord, for permission to make any rentals. I had to ask my landlord. My wife wanted a baby room, right? So even painting the walls, we had to ask. And the condition was yes, but when you move, before you move, you have to paint it back to the original. That was the condition. When you own, no worries, right? And trust me, when you're moving out, you don't want to have to like spent time painting a room yet. You're busy as is. So watch this. I'm just going to add in point form down here. Some of the advantages, fixed monthly payment. Write it down so you have it readily available when you're reviewing. Okay. You build equity. You build equity. Next, this is a big one. You may own pets. I should have asked actually on the questionnaire how many of you have pets, because that's a more and more people these days have pets, right? When you rent, there might be an extra deposit that you have to pay, and a lot of apartments just will not let you own pets. I couldn't even have a fish, but I did have one. You just didn't know about it. My kids wanted fish, so we had a fish, but technically it was not allowed. A fish was not allowed to have. Okay, you may have a yard. You may have a yard, and the reason why I'm saying may, because if you own a condominium, you don't have a yard, but if you buy a house, yes. So that would be very specific to the situation that you're in. Watch this. This is huge. You can borrow money using equity. There's that word again, equity. But you can borrow money at a much lower rate. You can buy a car at a much lower rate than if you buy it just through a regular loan, because your house is standing against that loan, and the banks love that. In fact, when you are done paying your mortgage, they're going to ask you, hey, do you want to remortgage? Because they make money with that, right? And especially they know you pay, so they love you even more. Okay? Sorry if your parents work for a bank. I'm not. I think banks are very important, but they are into the business of making money at the end of the day, right? Advantages of renting. A big one is you don't need a down payment. Yes, you need a deposit, but a down payment could be 20 grand, 25 grand, right? A deposit is a couple $100, right? So the initial cost is way lower, okay? If you're traveling frequently due to work, right? If you want to relocate often, then consider renting. Like if your job requires you to move, you never know if you're gonna stay long enough, then maybe renting is the way to go. Number 4, flexibility as to where to live. Okay, some areas are too expensive to own, but they're okay to rent. Like if you're in Toronto, oof, buying a home there, good luck. Like $1 million plus, right, to buy a home there. But maybe renting is an option for you. When you rent, here it is. You can move into a rental soon after finding it. Usually, when you buy, quite often there's a possession date. And sometimes it's a month, 2 months, 3 months into the future, because the previous owners are kind of saying we're not willing to move until this date, maybe end of June, because kids are in school, right? So buying is not always as flexible. Renting, if there's availability, you can move in as soon as the landlord agrees, right? 6, this kind of ties into the down payment, less upfront costs, meaning there's less that you need to spend upfront when you rent, right? Most of it, if there's any damages, the landlord will take care of it. 7, you don't have to pay for maintenance. However, you do have to pay for damages, guys, because some students tell me, "Oh, renting is awesome because you don't have to pay for anything that goes wrong." It's like, well, if you did it, you are responsible for it. If you make a hole in the wall, like my kids did, then you have to repair it, or else your deposit is gone when it's time to move, right? So here it is, point form. Ready? Don't need a large down payment. And you're going to have to explain this. Right? Don't need a large down payment. Initial startup costs are much lower. Whose music is on? Please turn it off. It is easier to relocate if needed. Lower maintenance costs. I will say lower. Okay, lower maintenance. I kid you not, every month there's something in the house that will go. Something. It could be not a big thing, but it could be 50 bucks in no time. In no time. It's like, oh, I'm just going to go to Home Depot and just get this. 50 bucks. Boom. Gone. Right? That's a lot of money. Right? Sometimes $100. A leaking faucet. For the kitchen, $100 plus for sure. A kitchen faucet, 100 plus. So utilities, watch this. Utilities are usually included. Did you know that? It seems like not a lot of you are renting. So water, electricity, and gas. Okay. Sorry, that is huge actually. Utilities are usually included. And if you pay for them, it's a joke. Like it's like 20 bucks a month. So, but they're usually included, like water, electricity, and gas usually included. So that's huge. I pay close to $280 every month on gas and electricity only. Water is another $100 a month. So that's like 280 plus 100, 380 a month just on these three items, which renting, they're included, right? So that's huge. Let's keep going. I actually want to do some calculations because I know that a lot of this stuff I'm yapping and you're just like, doesn't pertain to me, doesn't pertain to me. I get it. When you're not in it, you don't see the value just yet. But maybe some of the things I say will resonate when you're older. Here is one more time. On page 5, it's the advantages of buying. There's some new things in there that I didn't mention before. And page 6 has the advantages of renting. Page 7. This is important here. The province wants you to know what equity is. This is the best I can muster, guys. All right, you ready? This didn't come out as nicely as I had wanted to, but make this a nice bar here. So this is the value of your home. You get it? So let's say this is the good old days, right? Not realistic at all, but please pay attention. Let's say your house that you're paying is worth $100,000 today. And you paid off 60,000 of it. You still owe 40 grand on it, right? This is what you owe, and this is what you own, right? What happens to the amount that you owe the bank over time? Hopefully, see this line? Hopefully, what you owe them is slowly going to go down, right? And hopefully, the value of your home is going to go up, right? So let's make a bar right about here. Just make one, okay? Make it a little wider than the other one. And we're going to say, hey, we have something here. And so let's say that I'm going to make a line with this one. Watch this. The starting bar, make a horizontal faded line like this. And same with the bottom of the equity bar over here. You used to have 60,000 here, right? At the beginning. But let's say the value of your home over time has gone up by, let's say, 20 grand. So your house used to be worth 100, now it's worth 120,000. So write this down at the very top, right? 120,000. So if this is 60, actually this doesn't make sense, right? So let's make sure this goes up to 40 here. 40,000 up here. So 40 and 60, that's 100,000. So that means that we still owe 20 grand, right? And so here's where I'm going to use a highlighter. Your equity here, this equity bar has gone up. Your equity here, this is the orange piece here, is what you would get should you sell at this point in time. So 40 and 60 is actually $100,000 worth of equity. Okay, this is the part of the home that you own, and this is the part that you owe, right? So over time, hopefully, the amount you owe will be zero, and the value of your home is gonna keep increasing, right? After that point. So I will say this down here. This is what equity is. Write this down. Make sure you have this definition, right? Equity is the amount of money you would keep if you were to sell the house and pay off the remaining mortgage. There are two things that make your equity go up. The fact that you're paying off the mortgage, and the fact that the value of the home is going up. So that's why your equity is growing. Okay, so I'll say this down here. Equity grows due to, right, appreciation of property, you paying off mortgage. I'm just going to use MTG like that for mortgage. But this is why your equity grows. The fact that the housing market is going up, and the fact that you're paying off your mortgage. So it's a twofold. That's why it's growing exponentially, hopefully. Right? Appreciation of property and the fact that you're paying off the mortgage. That's the reason why equity grows. And we're going to take a break from concepts and start talking mortgages a bit more and doing calculations. So you building equity is huge because the bank, they know, like technically guys, let's face it, you don't have this money in your pocket. It's in the house, right? You get that concept? It's in the house, but the bank is willing to borrow you. It's like, hey, you want new couches? Do you want a car? You want 2 cars? You want a boat? You want a camper? Because they know at this point you would have $100,000 worth of equity. By the way, they never max out on it. They only allow you to maybe borrow. If you have $100,000 worth of equity, they're probably only going to give you $60,000 worth of credit. They don't want you to max this out because they know the value of the home could fluctuate a little bit, but that's huge. Okay, so let's go to page 10. This is actually, I'm not kidding you, because I refinanced not too long ago, and I asked them, do you still use the GDSR? And they're like, yep, we use it all the time. So highlight GDSR. Mortgage affordability. Can you even afford that mortgage? Because I'm telling you, a lot of people is like, oh, I love that house, and then they go to the bank and they're not approved, right? So this is what they do to figure out whether or not you're going to be approved. It's called the gross debt service ratio, guys. GDSR. Gross debt service ratio. It is a ratio that financial institutions, so it's banks, credit unions, you name it, use to decide if you can afford the house, right? It's basically like determining, can you even afford that house? It compares the total cost of your monthly mortgage payment, property taxes, and heating. It compares those costs to your gross monthly income from all sources. The GDSR must not exceed 32%. Highlight that. That's very important. You're going to have to make a reference to that magic number. Okay? The 32% is very important. I would actually, on my study sheet next to GDSR, I would just write down 32%. Just so you remember that number. Okay. And this is the formula. This formula is exactly the same. This formula is exactly the same as the one on your formula sheet, except for, watch this, the times 100 is not there. I include the times 100 because the GDSR is stated as a percentage. So you want to put under GDSR, put down the percentage, please. And I tried to make the case here, guys, and this is going to be the first thing you need to check. Are all of the amounts that you're going to be using monthly? Oops, I see the first typo there. This is supposed to say income, right? There we go. Income. You know what's better yet? I would say I would know this, but for you, put big brackets around this whole thing. Like you first want to calculate this whole thing before you multiply it by 100. So why 32%, you might ask? Monthly housing costs must not be greater than 32%. There it is again. I'm going to say this over and over so you guys remember. Monthly housing costs must not be greater than 32% of your gross monthly income. If someone's GDSR is greater than 32%, the bank will not approve the mortgage. Okay. So here is the 32%. Right? If you think about it, 32% is about a third. About a third. So if this is your gross monthly income, the mortgage payment, let's put payment there. The mortgage payment, the property tax payment, and the heating costs has to be 32% or less, okay, for you to be accepted. And then so the rest goes into other expenses, right? They know you need a card, you need transportation, you need clothing, food, all that thing. So to protect you, they will not allow you for this to be greater than 32%. Okay. Monthly housing costs. Here are the three. Okay. Mortgage is a loan towards real estate. The amortization period is longer than a regular loan. That's really the only difference. Property taxes, watch this. All home or condominium owners need to pay this tax to the local municipality. It goes towards infrastructure, road maintenance, snow removal, all of that stuff. Property taxes, everybody pays it, and it's going to be a lot of money. You're going to have a what moment when we calculate that. Heating costs. Most houses are heated with natural gas or electricity. Both are provided by Manitoba Hydro. And so we're going to talk about that. Watch this. You need to know these formulas. I will not have, they're not on your formula sheet. Max housing, max monthly housing, right? The max housing is monthly income times 0.32. I wonder why 0.32, because it's monthly housing is not supposed to be more than 32%. So we're going to find out what 32% of your income is. And then there's the maximum monthly mortgage payment. So what you do is you take this, right? You take this part that you just calculated above, and you subtract the heating, and you subtract the property taxes. I'm going to use, somebody stole my highlighters here. I'm short highlighters. Anyways, let's do this here. Property taxes. I'm going to say we're going to take that away from it. And heating. Take the heating away as well. So what I want you to see here is if you take these two away from the maximum you can spend on all three, right? If you take these two away, you end up with a maximum mortgage payment you can afford. Like this is specifically going towards that house, right? Which we earlier calculated was $2,100, right? For a $350,000 home. And so now we can, GDSR guys, make sure you have these two formulas as well as the one up above there, okay? GDSR, you need to know those things. So let's do some math here. Example 1. Gotta watch my time here. All of yours have a combined family income. This should be monthly, guys. Have a combined monthly. I forgot to mention that. That's very important to look for that. So write down monthly of $5,800 gross before income tax. And that's always how it's going to be. I will never trick you on that. So this is without taxes being taken off. So really, they're probably left over with $4,500, give or take. But the government goes by the gross income here. Next, what is the maximum they could spend on housing? Okay, so max housing, max on housing is simply 0.32 times the 5,800. That's it. Let's calculate that. I should have that key there. That's 1856, but there you go. 1856 per month, right? So if you combine your mortgage payment, property tax, and the heating costs, right? All those three components, which is what we call housing. Of course, there's way more than that. There's maintenance, there's all these things, but for our purposes, for GDSR, these three are considered housing costs. And you, in this case, this family could spend a maximum of this on all three. Okay, so that is important to remember. This is the maximum they can spend. They can spend less, but no more. Okay. The Olivers estimate that the houses they're looking for will cost approximately, watch this, 180 on heating per month. That's very important. I'm going to circle month because sometimes that's an annual or yearly amount. And the property taxes will be $3,800 a year. Okay, watch for that. Okay, so we're going to go tax would be 3,800. What would you do with that amount to get a monthly? Divided by 12. Okay, that's all you need to do there. Take 3,800 divided by 12. That is 316.67. Okay, you round to 2 decimals because it's a dollar amount per month. Okay, this is per month. So that's what you need to do here. I'm going to go arrow. If there's a yearly amount, you make sure you turn that into a monthly amount. Okay. What's the maximum monthly mortgage payment they can afford? Mortgage payment. I'm going to use max. What did I call it on the previous page? Was it max payment? Max mortgage payment. That's what I called it. I will go 0.32 times 5,800 just to use the whole formula again, even though I can just borrow this number. I'm going to go minus 180 for the heating, minus 316.67 for the property taxes. That's how much you pay a month for property taxes. I pay about $380 every month on property taxes. That's money I'm never going to see again, right? Just flush it down the drain, basically. Except for we do get services for it, right? So 1856 minus 180. I don't know why I redid that, guys. I wasn't thinking. I knew this was 1856, right? From here. So we go 1856 minus 180 minus 316.67. Your maximum mortgage payment that you're allowed to have is 1359.33. Okay, 1359.33. This. So in this case, this family could definitely not afford that house that we calculated the payment for earlier, right? $2,100 a month, not even close. This family couldn't do it. Okay. So now this is none of these you were not asked to actually find a GDSR. None of these. So now let's do one where we actually have to calculate the GDSR, and that's it. Then I'm going to ask you to try a few, okay? So I think I might have to add something here. I think I'm good. Xavier is wanting to buy a house with a property tax. Circle that or highlight it. This is important. Property taxes of $3,600 a year. Heating is $250 a month. And he looks up an online calculator and determines that the mortgage payment on this house or this home is $1,450 a month. Calculate the GDSR for Xavier. That should tell you should know exactly what is needed when you see those 4 letters. What's missing here? His income. So watch this. He earns $55,000 per year. Let's write that in. You have to write that in or else you couldn't do this question. And there's various ways of doing this, but I'm going to try this way, okay? Watch. GDSR is mortgage plus heat plus tax divided by income. All of that times 100. All of them have to be in monthly amounts. Is my mortgage payment in a monthly amount? Yes, it is $14.50 per month, so write that in. Is my heating in a monthly amount? Heating costs are estimated to be $250. Yep, write that in. Are my property taxes in a monthly amount? And you would say no. So watch what I do here. I do that, I write that in here. So the property taxes, because they're yearly, I'm going to divide it by 12. All over is my income. My income is per year. So you're going to go 55,000. This is going to be scary. Not really, right? But I'm going to divide that by 12. I'm going to show that I'm dividing it by 12. Put all of this in brackets, and we're going to multiply that by 100. Don't be scared. It's going to be all right. Some of you are just sitting there, it's like, I'm not even close to being scared. Bring it, right? So 1450 plus 250 plus 3600 divided by 12. Clean this up, right? You want to clean it up. That's $300 a month. Perfect. Over 55,000. I'm going to divide that by 12 as well. That's 4,583 and 33 cents. All of that times 100. Let's clean it up even more. So you go 1450 plus 250 plus 300. That's 2,000 divided by 458333 times 100. And here it is, guys. We're just there around the corner. So 2,000 divided by 4583.33. Multiply that by 100. The GDSR for Xavier is 4364, right? The 6 bumps the 3 to a 4%. That is your final answer. We're not done yet. Is it likely that Xavier will be approved for the mortgage? Explain. You must mention 32% to get the mark here. Yeah. So this is what I'm going to say here. Xavier will not be approved. Why is that? Comma, since his GDSR is above 32%. Can I fit that? I think I can. There we go. Xavier will not be approved because the GDSR is above. This is a must. I know for a fact that if your GDSR is like 35, they will probably look at your credit score and still approve you. But in our course, it's a no. If you're above 32, you're done. You're not getting approved, right? How can Xavier reduce the GDSR? How can he reduce the GDSR? Let's assume he would still like to buy that same house at the same price. How can he reduce it? And the answer is this, guys. The one you have most control over is the mortgage. So you got to bring that down, okay? So I will say this. Bring down the mortgage payment by increasing the down payment. I will have a section later where I'm going to tell you specifically that that's what you should be doing. Alternatively, this one is harder, but it is doable. Increase the income. How can you increase your income? Boss, I need more money. I need a $5 an hour raise. You can't do that, right? You could get a second job. Sometimes you need to get a third job, right? Which I don't advise, right? Get a second job or a cosigner. The only problem with a cosigner is that that person's name will be on the title of the house. So you don't own the house by yourself. But if you co-sign with someone, their income is taken as part of that total income. So then your income goes up, your GDSR will drop for that reason. Okay. So you gotta watch. You gotta be careful with the co-signing because if you want that house to be yours, of course, if it's your parents, you might not care, but be careful, right? Who you co-sign with. And your parents might not be able to financially because they look at their situation like can they afford to co-sign, right? So you're gonna have to be in contact with your bank. All right, I'm done here. I want you to try page 12. There's one question there. I want you to try it right away before we go to just page 12. That's it. All of page 12. Just try that. I'm going to give you the answer for A. If you don't want to know, just don't look up. But the answer is this. Thank you guys. You were great.